So just over the hill from the Mr. Wilson timber sale that was logged, you can find the BLM's proposed Kelsey Whiskey timber sale. It's just a gorgeous area. It's the Lower Rogue watershed. It's in what we have called the Zane Grey roadless area. And this roadless area is the largest forested roadless area on BLM in the nation. And you'd think, being a unique treasure like that, the BLM might respect it and manage it for its outstanding qualities. But instead they're proposing an old-growth timber sale that would build roads and log old growth within this wild, rugged, roadless area on the Lower Rogue River. And the Lower Rogue River is a really special place. There's over 50,000 acres of land that could be added to the Wild Rogue Wilderness, and there's about 70 miles of tributary streams that could be added to the wild and scenic system for the Lower Rogue River. The BLM contends that we can't do that because BLM is only for timber production. So they are moving forward with the Kelsey Whiskey timber sale, and we're doing everything we can to stop it because this is a very special area and it deserves protection for future generations. We're heading over to visit David Callahan right now. David was born and raised in Oregon. His father was a logger, so he grew up in logging communities. He worked for a bit in the industry as a choke setter before he moved to Applegate. He's been a landowner out here for about 30 years, and he worked as a Medford firefighter until he retired in 1989. And David's property is bordered on 3 sides by BLM, and he has a lot of experience about living as a neighbor of the BLM.
BLM, my neighbor, on 3 sides. BLM is a good neighbor when they don't come around. I like that part about them. And so does anybody else who's backed up to BLM to have that extra privacy that they didn't have to, quote, pay for by buying the land. But when BLM comes around, they are a bully. I use that term BLM, I'm speaking of the agency rather than the individuals in it. There's a lot of good people in BLM that are trying to do the right thing, but their voices are stifled by the top-down approach that says we're going to do it this way. At least with the WOPR, they're being honest. We're going to do it for timber management and that's it, and you don't like it? Well, that's tough because we got the law on our side. Besides that, we got the politics on our side. But it's exactly the opposite of what we need, and it's exactly the opposite of what the people have been telling them we want. And we live around this, and yet what are we're getting all this direction from Washington and timber lobbyists to tell us, hey, this is the way we want it. Why don't we just bring Ronald Reagan back in? That's what it feels like. We've just went back to the 1970s and we're just getting the cut out and over harvesting. We actually almost need to come to a screeching halt in this area here because there's just not much left. And these citizens here are very much in tune with what's going on, and they keep voicing their opinion, and it's always run roughshod over. Actually, you know what I would like to see? I would like to see BLM disintegrate, be absorbed by another agency, anything that would be more responsive than they are as an agency today. But I think my dad would, knowing his intelligence, he would see what I'm doing and be proud of me and go, I was just feeding a family. I didn't know any better, but I know better now. And good for you.
Well, that's what it's all about, is learning and then applying that new knowledge and making necessary adjustments and changes. And it seems like the opposite of the BLM, what you were saying. It's like they should be evolving and moving forward, and yet they're stepping back,
Exactly.
They're turning back and going back to 1937 and back to a time when we didn't understand as much about the ecology and our impacts on the land from our logging practices. And now that we know better, we should be making necessary adjustments, and instead of doing that, they're moving in the wrong direction.
They're worse than stuck in a rut. They're creating the rut. It's I don't know, I just have hopes that somehow or another we can get rid of that unresponsiveness, and that we'll get somebody in there that's going to do something with that agency, that's going to listen from the bottom end. This is what we need on the land. This is what the people need to make this work, and stop having all that direction coming from on high going, timber industry just bought me out. And that's what it amounts to, is they're sold to the highest bidder.
One of the most frustrating things for me about the BLM is, as a federal agency, they should be working to bring our communities together and find solutions, and instead they seem bent on fueling the controversy. There are solutions to be found out there, but it takes a commitment, and it takes a desire to find those solutions. And the BLM, with this WOPR process, they're kneeling to the timber industry. They're kneeling to an unsustainable boom and bust economy that has created the problems we're facing today. And there are solutions out there, and people like Joe Schattler and Out of the Woods Ecoforestry and Orville Camp and the Lomacatsi Restoration Project, these are innovative, far-thinking people that are working together with communities to find out how we can live in the woods. That there is a pathway to volume, but that pathway is working with communities in a sustainable way, and it's not fueling controversy and pitting people against each other. And I feel like that's what the BLM is doing in Western Oregon. They're fueling controversy rather than seeking solutions.